It is up to you. You're the leaders we've been waiting for. As my friend Ginny Thomas always says, you're it. You have to go out there and be the advocates and stop this nonsense before it takes hold and does any political damage. No, this letter was sent before the primary. It could not have been a reaction to a February 29th primary if the subpoena was sent on February 24th. But remember, democracy dies in the darkness. So, as I told you, the media loves to tailor a narrative. The media, what has been our motto for the show with regards to media coverage from day one? It has been that the media is not telling you the story. They're telling you a story.
A story.
The way the media does this is, very simply in some cases by just lying to you. For instance, collusion is real, Spygate's a hoax, that kind of stuff. But they also can be more devious, as we saw with their coverage of the financial ramifications in the markets from the coronavirus outbreak. Sometimes, Joe, it's not just what they say, but it's what they don't say. Now, hat tip to Ari Fleischer, who put this out on his Twitter account. I saw this morning. I want you to pay particular attention to the covers of the New York Times over the past few days. Now, as you know, there was some significant financial markets fallout from the coronavirus. There were some big point-wise dips in the stock market because of the fear factor. People just, are generally trying to process how bad is corona? Is it going to hit us? Is it going to hit us here? So there's a fear factor, understandably so. Notice how the New York Times put up cover one. Covers this, when was it? February 28th. Front page story, New York Times. Stocks take dive not seen since 2011 over virus crisis. Top right corner, New York Times, making sure everybody sees this on their front page because, they're the New York Times. They're telling you supposedly the story when they're really telling you a story. What was the story they're trying to tell you? Trump's really sucks. Look at all this stuff that's happening. Bad stuff. You're losing money because of Trump and his handling of the virus. Let's look at New York Times cover number 2. Wall Street suffers its worst week since 2008 as virus angst grows. Ladies and gentlemen, you should be afraid. You should be very afraid. It's happening now. Look at this, though. This is fascinating. So yesterday we see a massive rebound. Listen, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving anyone financial advice. I'm simply telling you it's my show, I buy the dips. I buy the dips every time because I believe in the power of the American economy. I did very well yesterday. Very well. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I take no joy in saying this, a lot of people sold their stocks to me yesterday very cheaply. And I wish you hadn't done that. I'm not kidding. I'm not being funny or there's nothing to joke about. I really wish that didn't happen. But I'm not going to let the stock market tank. I'm sorry. I don't believe that the stock market, the dip, was in any way commensurate with the threat we suffer from this virus. Now, look, the stock market rebounds yesterday, 1,300 points. Wait. Paul, I'm looking. I'm trying to look. Can you help me out here? Your eyes are better than mine.
What?
Do you see anything on that New York, Joe, you can see, is there anything on that New York Times front page about the largest point gain we've seen in modern times on the, and a pretty substantial percentage gain? I don't see it either, Joe. Nowhere to be found. Nah. Again, getting back to my very simple point, ladies and gentlemen, that when it comes to media analysis, you are not getting the story. You are getting a story. And it's not just the lies, it's the omissions too. All right, I got a lot to get to. I just want to leave that there so you understand what's going on. Knowledge is power. Right. Ignorance is not bliss, ever. Only for media types. Now, showing you again, here's a clown from the Washington Post who hysterically is alleged to be a fact checker, the just inimitable for all the wrong reasons, Glenn Kessler. This guy's supposed to be a fact checker. He puts this out yesterday in the Washington Post. I'm going to get to this story a little later, but again, this block is about the media coverage only. I'll get to the core of this story about Burisma later on in the show, which is fascinating in and of itself. Alleged fact checker at the Washington Post, Glenn Kessler, tweets out, Joe Biden suddenly comes back from the political dead on Saturday, winning South Carolina in the primaries, you all know. And the very next day, Republican Senator Ron Johnson pens a letter seeking subpoenas on Burisma. Must be a coincidence. He's responding to a tweet by Catherine Herridge, who actually showed the letter. Okay, so again, this is, folks, this is supposed to be the fact checker at the Democracy Dies in the Darkness Washington Post. They are the darkness, of course. The fact checker. Let's understand what his premise is, because this story is going to matter later in the show when I tell you what's really going on here, because this is serious stuff. Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who's very concerned about the Biden corruption in Ukraine and corruption in general over there, has sent a letter demanding that they talk to this person from Blue Star Strategies. They were working with Burisma to try and put a gloss on what Burisma, Hunter Biden's company that he was working on the board of, was doing. Everybody clear? That's the letter. Yeah. The fact checker from the Post is alleging that that letter was sent after the South Carolina primary win by Joe Biden to cut him off at the knees, Joe, to stop his momentum. Hat tip to Catherine Herridge, who has some highlights on it. We really enjoy her Twitter account. Let's read the actual letter. Joe, keep in mind, what was the date of the South Carolina primary? It was February 29th. So we look at this letter, and Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post, who's really not that bright, must have seen the date at the top of this letter, March 1st, and said, oh my gosh, look at this. Keep that up if you don't mind here. The letter is sent the day after the primary. What a kick in the, you know it, to Joe Biden. This is clearly political. Except Glenn can't read, because if he actually read the letter, Joe, and went even a paragraph down, you would see, again, hat tip Catherine Herridge, you would have read that. This is from Senator Ron Johnson. On February 24th of 2020, I notified the ranking member of my intent to issue a subpoena. Now, Joe, just checking here, because again, Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post obviously can't read. Is February, I know after yesterday, I'm a little hesitant to do this, but this should be a grounder.
Yeah, me too.
This is a bunt. I'm just messing with you. If the South Carolina primary is on February 29th, and Ron Johnson sent the subpoena on February 24th, is it in any way possible that he sent the subpoena after the South Carolina primary? The answer, of course, is no.
I don't think so.
All you had to do was read the second paragraph. But of course, because Glenn Kessler's not that bright, he didn't get to the second paragraph and just read the letter at the top, not the date of the actual subpoena. Hat tip to Sean Davis from The Federalist, who pointed this out in his Twitter feed. Again, folks, beating up on the media, as Joe said before the show, does become redundant. But ladies and gentlemen, it is necessary, and it's necessary for a very simple reason. We have an election coming up. Some of your friends, your moderate friends who may be predisposed to voting for a Democrat but could be convinced to support a Republican during this election, will buy this nonsense.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud, and follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.